Most people believe a cheap car is cheap for a reason. The moment they see a low price, their mind instantly starts creating problems. Maybe the engine is unreliable. Maybe the transmission is weak. Maybe the previous owner knew something they don't. And before they even step closer, they have already decided to walk away. That happens every day in the used car market. Because fear sells faster than facts. And once a car develops a bad reputation, even if that reputation is only half true, buyers begin treating it like something dangerous. Dealers lower the price. Interest disappears. And slowly, a perfectly decent car can become almost invisible. But every once in a while, the market gets something completely wrong. A car becomes cheap, not because it deserves to be ignored, but because people stopped paying attention. And that is where some of the smartest buyers make their move. Because while most people chase the same popular vehicles, the best value is sometimes hiding in the cars nobody wants. And today, we're looking at 3 cars buyers keep ignoring, even though owners who understand them often say they would buy them again without hesitation. And the first one starts with a car that almost looked too ordinary to matter. The Lexus ES350. At first glance, it never seemed like a car people would get excited about. It wasn't aggressive, it wasn't sporty, it didn't scream luxury, and it certainly didn't turn heads the way German sedans often do. That became its problem, because many people buy cars emotionally before they buy them logically. They want sharp lines, big screens, fast acceleration, feels impressive in the first 30 seconds. But the Lexus ES was never built for the first 30 seconds. It was built for the 5th year. And that changed everything. Because once people actually lived with the car, they started noticing what others missed. The cabin stayed quiet. The seats stayed comfortable. The ride stayed smooth. And unlike many luxury cars, ownership often stayed surprisingly stress-free. That matters. Because older luxury vehicles usually scare used buyers. People assume expensive badge means expensive repair. They imagine endless warning lights, complicated electronics, and painful repair bills. That fear alone kept many buyers away, and when buyers stay away, prices fall, sometimes much faster than they should. That created a strange opportunity. Because while people chase newer and flashier cars, the ES quietly became one of the smartest luxury bargains in the used market. And the people who bought one early often realized the same thing. The car they almost ignored became the one they trusted most. That is the strange part of overlooked cars. Sometimes they do not reveal their value quickly. Sometimes they reveal it slowly. And by the time everyone else notices, the smartest buyers are already driving them. The second car made a completely different mistake, because buyers judged it based on what it was, instead of how good it actually felt. The Ford Fusion. For years, it lived in a segment that buyers slowly stopped caring about. The mid-size sedan. As crossovers became more popular, sedans quietly started disappearing. Families wanted SUVs, young drivers wanted trucks, and ordinary sedans began feeling outdated. Because once buyers stop wanting a category, even good cars inside that category start losing value. That is exactly what happened to the Fusion. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't exciting, and it never developed the kind of reputation people talk about online. But owners often describe something very different. A comfortable ride, a quiet cabin, a balanced feel on the highway, and a level of refinement many people never expected. Yet none of that mattered, because in the used market, perception often controls price more than reality, and the Fusion suffered because of perception. People didn't necessarily think it was bad, they simply stopped thinking about it at all. That can be even worse, because when a car disappears from people's minds, its value often disappears with it. And that created another hidden opportunity. Because while everyone rushed toward expensive used SUVs, the Fusion quietly became one of the better values left behind. Not because it was perfect, because it wasn't. No used car ever is. but because the gap between price and quality became larger than most buyers realized. And sometimes, that gap is where the smartest deals live. Then there is the third car, and this one may be the most misunderstood of them all, the Buick LaCrosse. Because many people rejected it before they ever opened the door. And the reason had very little to do with the car itself. It was the badge. For years, Buick carried an image many younger buyers simply ignored. Some people saw the name and instantly assumed the car wasn't meant for them. They pictured something old, something outdated, something they would never enjoy driving. Many shoppers never gave it a fair chance, but the people who did often discovered something surprisingly different. The LaCrosse offered something many modern vehicles slowly started losing: comfort. Real comfort. The ride felt soft, road noise stayed low, and long trips felt easier than many buyers expected. Inside, the cabin often felt more expensive than the price suggested, and for some owners, that became the biggest surprise, because the car they almost dismissed ended up feeling more satisfying than the one they originally wanted. That happens more often than people think, because buyers often pay for image, not necessarily quality. And when image becomes stronger than reality, value can hide in plain sight. That is what happened here. The market looked at the badge and ignored the actual experience. And because of that, used prices often stayed lower than they probably deserved. That may be the biggest lesson in all of this. Because the used car market is not always logical. Some vehicles become expensive because of hype. Some become popular because of trends. And some become ignored simply because nobody is paying attention anymore. That creates an unusual kind of opportunity. Because while most people keep asking the same question, what does everyone want? Smart buyers ask something very different. What is everyone missing? That single question can completely change the way someone buys a car. Because popularity and value are rarely the same thing. Sometimes the most expensive car is not the smartest purchase. And sometimes the car nobody notices quietly becomes the one that makes the most sense. That doesn't mean every ignored car deserves a second chance. Some absolutely don't. Some become cheap for very good reasons. Some deserve the reputation they have. And some should be avoided no matter how low the price gets. But every now and then, the market gets it wrong. A car becomes cheap because buyers misunderstood it, because trends changed, because the badge lost appeal, or because people judged the car before they ever drove it. And when that happens, hidden value begins to appear. That is why these cars matter. Not because they are perfect, because they aren't, but because they prove something many buyers forget. The smartest purchase is not always the one everyone is chasing. Sometimes it's the one sitting quietly while everyone else keeps walking past. And in a market where so many people follow the crowd, those overlooked cars can become something rare. Not rare because they are expensive, rare because very few people ever notice them at all. So the next time you see a car nobody seems to want, don't just ask why it's cheap. Ask yourself something better. What if everyone else missed it first?